NGK. Sometimes I imagine saying like NGK, like the name Enrique. NGK. Cylinder 1, 2, 3, 4. They all look brand new on the electrode and the ceramic down by the electrode, if it'll focus. They look brand new. They all, I'm not gonna try and get all four to focus, but trust me, they all, I mean, you can see, they look like that. However, cylinder 1 looks like that. And I'll throw in some footage from the bore scope. So yeah, here we're looking down into cylinder 1. It's really not looking too hot, but I have a plan, and you'll see in a second, cylinder 3 actually had a spider living in it. So I'm just gonna dump some Marvel Mystery Oil down into the top of the cylinder of cylinder 1, and it'll be fine. You know, it'll come up with the oil change, just like right there we have it, cylinder 3. There's the spider. We're back in the garage. It's now Wednesday. I think the last clip would have been Monday. I picked up some Marvel Mystery Oil. I know it's pretty optimistic to just toss MMO into the cylinder, given how it looks, but I don't want to rebuild it. Or even, I mean, if I took it apart, I would, at the very least, would get gaskets and rings and bearings, but I don't feel like doing any of that. We're gonna try that, and if it doesn't work out, then, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. Pretty hopeful that that will take care of it. Optimistically hopeful. Aside from that, over on the bench, we got a couple new parts in. New water pump. It came with a gasket and studs. I'm obviously sitting down, I'm editing stuff right now. I'm about to say that I don't need those studs because I'm not using the clutch fan. That I'm wrong, because those studs don't just hold on the clutch fan, they hold on the pulley. I will later realize this. So I do need those studs, but I won't realize until after I've put the water pump in. That's sitting and thinking about what it's done for the clutch, but since I'm running those E-fans, I don't have to worry about the studs. Obviously, Rock Auto, so it came with a 70-something D100 crew cab. This is the boot that goes right on top of the shifter on the trans to keep things out of the transmission. Tensioner bolt for the alternator, little just to kind of neaten up my brake lines, and then I'll run the clutch line through that. So this is from Faction, that's from Faction. Rock Auto, like I said. eBay, I got door handles, so that's pretty nice. Excited to have those finally. And that's it for new parts. However, that'll keep me busy long enough to finish this video. So I'm gonna get to it. I'm glad I caught it now, but as I got, as you can see, I spilled some, but I got MMO in here and got the plug and the wire and socket on there, and I realized that I ran my other 3 wires above my throttle cable, and they're supposed to go below. I'll fix that real quick. There we go. Now I'm gonna go ahead and get that tensioner bolt in there. Now that's in, I'm gonna go clean up the mating surfaces for both the water pump and the thermostat. I ended up ordering a thermostat because the closest one to me was just far enough away that the price of shipping was cheaper than the price of fuel to go drive up there and get it. It was about an hour away, so it would have been 2 hours of driving, and shipping was like $5. So I'll get those cleaned. Nice and cleaned up. I went and cleaned up all the threads on my bolts here because things go together much easier that way. Two of them in just to try and keep that gasket in place, and I'm gonna leave it loose, as you can see, so that I can ensure that my gasket is all lined up. As I'm looking at this, I'm realizing that I'm an idiot. I said I wasn't gonna put the studs in here because I wasn't using the clutch fan. If you look at this pulley, and then you look at this pulley, and then you look at this pulley, I'm gonna go rip the pulley off of the old water pump and get it on here. First couple attempts at beating this thing off, it's not going super great. Fairly unsuccessful so far. Broke a couple fins off, not that it matters because this is gonna go right in the trash. But I'm gonna spray it with some more PB Blaster and let it sit. In the meantime, I'm gonna go ahead and work on getting the boot on the shifter. There's a snap ring in here. You can kind of see it, and it needs to not be in there anymore. I have absolutely no idea where that went. I went through and rewatched the video. I spent, no joke, like 30 minutes looking for that snap ring. I even started going through my hardware boxes and grabbed a couple other snap rings. That one's an external one, so it wouldn't work anyways, but found these two internal ones, and they're way too small if you were wondering. I have an open tab right now looking at how much it would be to buy a new snap ring. And I went, sat down, started editing some of those clips. And as I was editing the clips, and when I went through the first time, I was going frame by frame. And then when I was editing them, I watched it all the way through. And you can very, very clearly see it fall straight down. And I can't tell you how many times I looked right at this thing without seeing it. I'll flip the camera and show you where it landed. I was looking everywhere. I looked under the car. I was looking even up in my vents thinking that, the tension on it shot it out that way. But it's right there. So I can throw the shifter back. I measured out different snap rings. I was measuring out the inside diameter of that. Fully ready to figure something else out. But I no longer have to. Super, super happy that I ended up finding this. I might have played myself by putting this on before having the shifter in there. And hindsight 2020, didn't really need to pull this and just wasted probably a total of an hour. Realistically, if I just thought about it for a second, and I ended up just throwing some lube on it. I lubed up this and it just slid right on. I'd been trying it dry and it wouldn't go. And I totally could have done that without pulling the shifter, but here we are. I am sure that zip ties would do just as good a job as mechanics wire, but because I've got a good feeling that this transmission is definitely coming out in the near future, whether it's to do the clutch or, new trans mount. I don't want to fight getting zip ties off and have to cut the zip ties with a knife or something and accidentally cut that boot. So mechanics wire it is. Now the last piece of this little puzzle here, shift knob. Huge victory royale. Finally got the pulley off of the old water pump and in turn the clutch. Just had to beat it, spread it apart with a chisel. It really didn't want to go, but it went. It's on. I gotta grab some nuts. You can see I kind of galled up the face of it, but no matter. I'm gonna go ahead and throw nuts on the studs. Got those 4 nuts on, and I ended up having to put a washer behind each nut because there's a little round spot in the middle of the stud like any exhaust stud would have. And because I don't have the flange for the fan clutch, there was a bit of that exposed and I couldn't get the nut to seat flat against the pulley. But that's on there. I'm gonna take a second and clean up everything I've taken out so far today, and then get started on the door handles. Now, door handles. I'm hoping door handles go smooth because the rest of today has felt like when you have a good character going on the Oregon Trail and then they get dysentery and die. So it's just 2 10mm nuts on the backs of these studs, the lock cylinder there, and the linkage here to actuate the latch. I'm gonna go ahead and pull the old ones out and pull the lock cylinders out of them. Here's the old handles, broken ones out of the car. Like I said, it's those 2 studs with some 10mm bolts. You can actually, Bo found this out before I did. He did the driver's side while I took on the passenger side. But there's a little plug right here in the door. If you pull that, you can see there is the little tab for the stud to go through. And then the lock cylinders is this little wire clip that you spin to the side. We've already got them switched over into the new handles. Unfortunately, as we took them out, both sides, the clip for the lock cylinder that holds, this isn't the exact one, but just to demonstrate, holds the linkage in place. Both of them broke on the driver's side and passenger side. Sposing hard, or hardly sposing.
That was pretty hard. You should have hit him with a 9W.
Hardly sposing.
It's a 6W, the W6.
So to actually get the door handles in, kind of slide them at a 90-degree angle and get the top underneath the top and line those studs up to the tabs and push it in. This is the driver's side that I have out. I just got the passenger side in, and it's gonna be a lot easier to explain how to get this rod where it needs to be in these little plastic tabs with it outside of the door so that you can actually see what I'm talking about. So right here, that is this plastic tab right here attaches to your exterior handle. This rod goes not directly, but it goes to the door latch. And so this bend, the 90-degree bend, you have one that's, I don't know, I'm not gonna guess the degrees, relatively straight, and then you have one that's a 90-degree with these other bends right here. And what you need to do inside of the door is get this tab bent so that it's flat, or I guess flush with the other half. And when you have it flush, I can kind of cheat here because I'm not working in the door. You're just gonna slide it right on through. And it is important that before you do that, you get this straight end. There's a little rubber, I guess, bushing. You get this straight end sitting in the little rubber bushing there. And I do have a video from inside the door, so I'll probably just voice over. All right, and there you go. You can see that blue bushing at the bottom of the rod is what I'm talking about. And then, like I said, inside of the door, you're gonna try and pinch this closed and run it through both of these as they are flush to the bracket at the same time. And I kind of had to wiggle it a bit. I mean, you could even see there outside of the door. Kind of got to wiggle it a bit, but that is definitely the way to go. We tried doing it with the door handle. And this, I guess it's important to say, you can do this after you have installed your door handle, after you've tightened or even just, you know, gotten the nuts loosely on those studs on the back side. All right, I know things were pretty all over the place with today's video, but I'm gonna call it here because there's, you know, like I said, things were all over the place, and I'm gonna end it before they go any crazier. I know there's a couple things that are kind of left unfinished that I started. The coolant situation, that's obviously, that'll be fine. That's the least of my worries with the engine. Cylinder 1 leaves a pretty big question mark. You know, I'm very hopeful that you know, it'll run fine. I've seen crazier things. So if you enjoyed this video or any of the other ones I have posted, or maybe you're watching this after I've posted other ones and now you're coming to this one, please like, subscribe, comment, help my channel grow. I've said it before in probably just the first video I posted, but I do plan to keep, you know, consistent posts going with this car and I guess the garage in general. So like I said, please, if you enjoyed this, like, comment, subscribe.